They hit the deck fast, ropes snapping taut in the icy wind as rotors chewed the Baltic air. Helm cam footage shows dark figures sliding from a helicopter onto a rust-stained cargo deck. Boots clanging, rifles up, commands sharp and finish. In minutes, the bridge is secured. The ship's name on the hull reads a single word: Fitburg. The date is December 31st, and the Gulf of Finland is about to end the year with a statement. Finland isn't waiting for someone else to guard its seabed. It's doing it itself. What exactly went down? On New Year's Eve, Finnish authorities, Border Guard aircrews and maritime units working with police intercepted the St. Vincent and the Grenadines flagged Fitburg as it sailed from St. Petersburg to Haifa. Investigators suspected the vessel had dragged its anchor across the seafloor and sliced through a critical undersea telecommunications cable between Finland and Estonia. Not a glitch, not rain fade, a physical wound in the Baltic's nervous system. 14 crew members, nationals of Russia, Georgia, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan, were detained while Finland opened a criminal investigation into aggravated damage and interference with telecommunications. The ship was steered into port, and the year ended with a very Nordic message: "We see you, and we're coming aboard." If you haven't seen the clip, it's as cinematic as law enforcement gets in the far north. Finland released video snippets of the tactical boarding, helicopters overhead, operators fast roping, the kind of footage that says, "We trained for this all year." Think maritime SWAT, but with frost on the railings. The visuals aren't just chest thumping, they're a deterrent in 1080p. Authorities didn't just rely on drama. This was an intelligence-led, multi-agency operation. Finland's police and border guard say the Elisa-owned data cable between Helsinki and Tallinn suffered a break, and shortly afterward, they found the suspected culprit, with its anchor where it shouldn't be, down on the bottom. A patrol ship and a helicopter moved in, compelled the vessel to change course, and brought it under control inside Finland's exclusive economic zone. It's neat, professional, and absolutely deliberate. Exactly the playbook you write when your neighborhood has seen one cable too many get cut. Inside the investigation, the details got even starker. Police say they've identified a long drag line on the seabed, signs that the Fitburg's anchor and chain scraped along for tens of kilometers before the point where the cable failed. Prosecutors are looking at aggravated damage, attempted aggravated damage, and serious interference with telecommunications. Charges that carry real weight in a country where undersea links are treated like the arteries they are. This isn't a parking ticket on the water. It's a case about who gets to touch the digital bloodstream of NATO's north. What about the crew? Post-seizure, Finland moved fast, questioning, travel bans, and, according to later updates, arrests for at least 2 members of the crew as the case sharpened from suspicion to probable cause. Customs officials even reported finding sanctioned Russian structural steel on board. Because if you're going to ring in the new year in handcuffs, you may as well overachieve. The legal process will take time, but the signal is clear. This isn't a maritime shrug, it's a full-court press. To understand why Helsinki went kinetic so quickly, you have to zoom out. The Baltic has become a chessboard of hybrid pressure points since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Telecom cables and power interconnectors don't carry flags, but they carry leverage, and that makes them targets, whether by malice, negligence, or the kind of suspicious accidents that keep intelligence officers awake at 0300. NATO navies have quietly stacked more patrols across the Baltic, but a simple fact remains: you cannot escort every meter of cable. When something goes ping, response time matters. Finland just showed what that looks like at 0 degrees Celsius. And this isn't the first rodeo. In late 2024, the tanker Eagle S allegedly dragged an 11,000 kilogram anchor for nearly 90 kilometers, damaging the S-Link 2 power cable and multiple data lines. Tens of millions of euros worth of hurt. Prosecutors brought charges, but the Helsinki District Court later threw the case out on jurisdictional grounds, ruling that Finland couldn't prosecute because the damage occurred in its exclusive economic zone, not its territorial waters. Ouch. That legal lesson echoes in the Fitburg playbook. Take control early, document thoroughly, and lock down suspects before the case evaporates in a courtroom on a technicality. Rewind further and you hit the 2023 Baltic Connector case. A gas pipeline and cables ruptured, an anchor recovered, and a Chinese-flagged container ship's route scrutinized with a magnifying glass. Investigators found drag marks and a missing anchor tooth. And while the world argued accident versus sabotage, the Baltics learned something grim. When your seabed is a jungle of critical infrastructure, one careless or hostile ship can do damage that ripples across economies. The Fitburg incident lands on that timeline like another grim pin on the map. So what exactly makes this cable so critical? Think of the Tallinn-Helsinki link as the Baltic's fibre optic umbilical cord. Redundant, yes, but never optional. It carries commercial traffic, financial data, emergency communications, and enough classified chatter that you're not hearing about it in press releases. When one trunk goes down, traffic reroutes, latency spikes, and redundancy shrinks. Not catastrophic by itself, but stack enough incidents in close succession, and you create strategic pressure without firing a shot. That's hybrid warfare's calling card. Death by 1,000 plausible deniabilities. Let's talk tactics. The boarding video isn't just cool, it's a lesson. Helicopter insertion onto a moving merchant vessel in winter seas is complex. You need air crews who can hover steady in gusting winds, operators trained to fast rope onto slick steel, and a command and control network tying the helicopter, the patrol ship, and coastal headquarters into one heartbeat. Finland's Border Guard does this with the same calm energy you'd use to get another coffee. It also helps when your cutters, like the OPV Turva, are built for harsh weather and carry the sensors to track and steer a suspect without turning the Gulf into a demolition derby. And those helicopters? Finland doesn't advertise which bird goes where, but the Border Guard's air wing is built for maritime interdiction and rescue. Crews who train day and night to win on bad water, in bad weather, against bad actors. One reason the footage resonates is because it turns an invisible crime, damage to an unseen cable, into a visible response. There's a psychological dimension here. If any shadow fleet captain thinks the North is a postcard you can scuff with an anchor, Finland wants that idea to die on the deck plates. Now, was this sabotage or sheer negligence? The fit is uncomfortably tight either way. On one hand, deliberate anchor dragging has precedent in the region. On the other, poor seamanship, lousy maintenance, or a captain trying to beat the weather can produce the same scars on the seabed. Investigators will piece together AIS tracks, sonar imagery, metallurgical clues from the cable ends, and statements from a crew suddenly very interested in their union rights. That's why Finland's wording matters. Aggravated damage, attempted aggravated damage, and aggravated interference cover both intent and reckless indifference. Either can wreck a cable. Both are unacceptable. A quick legal note, because the court beats the sea in the long run. The exclusive economic zone is not a lawless void. It's just a different set of powers than territorial waters. The Eagle S case showed how hard it is to convert maritime suspicion into courtroom certainty when the offence sits outside the 12 nautical mile line. This time, Finland appears to be building a stronger chain of evidence and custody, seizing the vessel promptly, detaining the crew, and locking down the forensics amid close cooperation with Estonia and the telecom owner. If they can show clear causality between anchor drag and cable break, plus knowledge or gross negligence, the case gets teeth. Regionally, everyone's watching. Estonia reported malfunctions on additional lines around the same window. Sweden-linked infrastructure was flagged too. NATO allies have already ticked up patrols. Nothing flashy, lots of grey holes in cold water. The kind of persistent presence that makes surprises more expensive. It's not escort duty, it's deterrence by probability. Raise the odds you'll get caught, and a lot of accidents suddenly look less profitable. Now, the geopolitics. Call it hybrid pressure, call it a shadow fleet, call it vandalism with paperwork. This is the new normal in the Baltic. After Nord Stream, after Baltic Connector, after a string of suspicious outages across 2024 to 2025, The picture is familiar. Europe's critical seabed is a strategic battle space. Russia's war on Ukraine put a hard edge on that reality. But you don't need an FSB badge to cause trouble. A rust bucket with the wrong orders or the wrong habits can be just as dangerous. Finland's response is a shot across every bow. Whatever the motive, damage the network, and you might spend New Year's Eve explaining anchors to detectives. If you're wondering how you stop this long term, the answer is not one thing. It's a toolkit. More bottom surveillance, fixed hydrophones, seabed sensors, acoustic tripwires, so you can catch a drag in progress rather than detect it after the fact. Tighter routing and burying of cables in high-risk corridors. Better legal frameworks across the EU and NATO to prosecute in the EEZ when intent is hard to prove, but consequences are undeniable. And yes, more patrol hours by cutters and maritime patrol aircraft, because at sea, the simple act of showing up changes behaviour. It's not glamorous, but neither is rebooting a continent's internet. There's also the shipping industry piece. Some of these vessels operate on razor-thin budgets, old charts, and older gear. If you're sailing with sketchy insurance, busted winches, or anchors that belong in a museum, the Baltic is not your sandbox. Europe can tie safety inspections, port access, and insurance requirements to cable corridor compliance, turning "don't drag" from a polite request into a business model. When the cost of negligence exceeds the profit on the voyage, anchors start coming up where they should. Wild thought. Maybe try not dragging them for tens of kilometers. So what does this mean for Finland specifically? It means the quiet, capable defender of the north has dropped the quiet part. The tactical seizure of the Fitburg isn't an outburst, it's doctrine. It fits a pattern of Nordic states tightening maritime enforcement, and it shows a country that just joined NATO acting like it belongs, protecting the commons with teeth. The message to allies is reassuring. Finland is a net security provider. The message to opportunists is simpler. If your plan relies on weather, ambiguity, and the size of the Baltic, you're whistling into a headwind. As for the ship and its people, the coming weeks will be about interviews, logs, AIS forensics, metallurgical analyses, and lawyers wrangling over intent. Reports already point to incremental steps, arrests, travel bans, while the hull sits in a Finnish harbour like a cautionary tale in steel. If the evidence holds, prosecutors could have the rarest of maritime creatures, a hybrid warfare case with both a smoking gun and a fingerprint on it. If it doesn't, the boarding still matters. It draws a line in cold water. Let's be clear, the Baltics don't panic easily. They build redundancy, they rehearse contingencies, and they carry on. But string enough of these incidents together, and you don't just threaten data rates, you nibble at deterrence. That's why Finland's helicopter-borne New Year's knock on the door is about more than one cut cable. It's about re-establishing the rules on the world's most crowded little inland sea. Don't mess with the lines that tie democracies together, or someone's coming down a rope to talk about it, with handcuffs. Some will argue this is overreaction, that cables break, that ships make mistakes, that the sea is a rough teacher. Fair, but count the incidents, count the timing, and count the strategic benefit to those who would, say, love to see NATO allies waste resources and doubt their own security. When risk crosses a threshold, prudence starts wearing a flight helmet. Finland's just demonstrated how that looks and sounds. Hint, it sounds like rotor blades. Back on the deck of the Fitburg, the operators finish their sweep. The bridge is cleared, the course is changed, and the calendar is almost ready to flip. Somewhere in Helsinki, phones stop ringing quite so frantically. Somewhere in Tallinn, engineers reroute traffic and start drafting repair plans. The rest of us see a few seconds of video and a headline. But inside that clip is a bigger truth. The Baltics are done being a playground for accidents. The seabed is now a defended frontier, and the people defending it are very good at fast roping in the cold. Here's the bottom line. A single anchor can't sink a country, but it can fray the cords that bind one together. In this part of the world, that's a national security issue. The Fitburg is either a smoking anchor or a cautionary tale, depending on what the evidence says. Either way, the lesson holds. The age of hybrid pressure will be met with hybrid response. Law, intelligence, patrols, and, when necessary, a helicopter and a rope. If you're sailing the Baltic, mind your charts, mind your gear, and most of all, mind the cables. Finland is, and it's not alone, because under the grey winter sky of the Gulf of Finland, on the last day of the year, one country made it very clear: if you cut the lines, we cut the distance, and we do it fast.